Hi friends! Welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Katelyn and I like to film eyeshadow palette, ranking and review videos, as well as the occasional other content sprinkled in. So if you like indie makeup, if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like me, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I post 2 videos every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And today we are ranking every single eyeshadow palette that I used in the month of June. This is a series that I like to do on my channel every month, and I do rank every eyeshadow palette that I used. New, old, doesn't matter. It's getting ranked. So let's go ahead and get on into it. If you are new to my ranking video, I do my ranking in a system where I have 4 tiers. First tier is the tier where it's like palettes that if they left my collection or, you know, something happened to them, like I wouldn't be that upset about it. Second tier are palettes that I like. Third tier are palettes that I love. And fourth tier are my holy grail favorites. So if you at any point find yourself enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up, and that really helps the algorithm push out my content. And let's get started with our first category. I do still rank the palettes in order, as if it is a normal ranking. I just don't read the numbers off because I'll be honest, I cannot keep track of them. So that's why we do it this way. And I think it's a little bit more consistent of like where the palettes sit in the tiers versus where they sit in like a numbered ranking. Cause like sometimes within each tier, I'm like, I could probably just move these around and still feel the same way. So anywho, first tier, palettes that I feel meh about. Like honestly, like if something happened to them, I'd be like, well, you win some, you lose some. And it would not upset me in any way at all. So first one up is the Byredo Mineralscapes palette. I just don't even really like this palette all that much. There's not a whole lot to redeem it for me personally. The shades that I like, that I feel like performed well on the lid, looked beautiful, wore nicely throughout the day, I have those shades and that type of a formula in, I feel like, my Viseart palettes. And so this just wasn't anything special to me. And then even some of the different formulas, like some of these just straight up performed as satins, and I just didn't like it. I did not like it. So that is our bottom palette. And then next up is the Cool Neutrals palette from Sigma Beauty. And this palette's fine. I don't know, it's just fine. The mattes blend okay, but not like amazing. The shimmers are nice. I would say the shimmers are nice. They're good. But like they're not like spectacular, blow your socks off. And I don't know, I just like didn't really vibe with this color story as much as I thought I would. And I do like neutral palettes, I swear, I do. I do tend to love colorful palettes more, but I really thought I'd like this one based on pictures. And I don't know, I just don't love the Sigma formula as much as I love some other formulas. Last palette up in this category is the Natasha Denona Golden palette. Ignore all the fingerprints on mine. This palette is what it looks like it's gonna be. It's a golden palette. It's mostly gold shades. I thought we would have more variety in the types of gold. And maybe if you have a deeper complexion, the nuances show up more. But on my complexion, they all look exactly the same. Like if you're looking at this right now, right, you're like, oh, there's like a champagne gold and like a yellow gold. On me, they look exactly the same. Like there's no difference. Everything shows up as yellow gold on me. So, you know, for me, it just didn't quite give me what I was looking for. And that is to say, I understand that it's a golden palette and I knew I was getting golds. I just thought I'd get different kinds of golds, and I didn't. It's all yellow gold on me. All right, next up is our category of palettes that I like. So these are palettes I like. They're just not quite love or holy grail favorites. So there's either something that I'm nitpicking with them or just something about them. So first up, we have the Viseart Paris Reverie Étendue palette. I was gifted this palette in PR. Any palettes that I'm gifted in PR will be noted as such down below in the description box. I never accept PR that includes an obligation to post. It's if I post something, it's because I have worked something out with the brand and it's a sponsored post, or I have chosen to share it myself because I wanted to. So anyways, but that's all noted down below. There you go. So Paris Reverie, this is really pretty. I think these tones work really nicely on me and I really enjoy using it. It just is not like when I compare it to the other palettes, it's not something that I feel like I'm gonna reach for as often or get as much use out of. Although that's not true. I could see myself using this palette, and this is what I love about Viseart. They basically, their palettes serve as like a base for me to like pull in and add something special. So for this palette, I love using this as like a foundation for a really nice pretty look, and then I want to bring in some special toppers or flakies or whatever and do that on top of that. And so it does serve that purpose for me, which is why I like it. But it's not, and the mattes blend beautifully. I think the shimmers work nice. It's just not, compared to other palettes, I don't feel like I love the looks as much. Am I making sense? Last palette, there's only 2 in this category. Last palette for this category is the Lunar Beauty Moonshroom palette. So I do really like this palette. I just don't love it, and so that's why it's here, basically. I wish this purple was lighter. I wish one of these, I actually really like Fairy Wings, so maybe it's like Spores I wish was like a lighter shimmer, or I wish Witch's Hat was a lighter purple shimmer. I'm just not a smoky-eyed girly, and so I feel like I don't have as much variety in this palette as I would like, so that is why it is not quite a love. Next up are palettes that I love. So first up, we have the Adept Cosmetics Plain Jane Remastered palette. I just used one shade for a look at this AC18 down here, but I really do like this palette. I think these shimmers are beautiful. I really love the Adept shimmer formula. This one's got a bunch of fun colors in it, and it's really nice to be able to pull in this with like whatever mattes. I can grab a pretty sparkly shimmer. Pretty much everything I said applies to this next palette. It's the Adept Ninhydrin palette. I also used just one shade for a look. I used AC20 for a look. It was actually one of my favorite looks that I did last month. But anyways, same thing. This palette does have 2 mattes, so you could do a completed look with this. I don't love the mattes in this palette, so I probably wouldn't use them. I'd rather use mattes in whatever other palettes I have and then pull these shimmers in. So that's where I'm at with those. And then next up, I have the Lethal Cosmetics Wildflower palette. It's sliding out of the thing. The only reason I rank this above the 2 Adept palettes is because it has a lot of mattes, or not a lot, but like it has more mattes than those palettes do. And then it also has really gorgeous shimmers. So these shimmers are super beautiful, similar to the Adept shimmers, but I feel like this is a really fun poppy color story, and that's why I put this one a little bit higher. But like this palette, I love pairing with like a neutral crease and pulling in as a special shimmer, or using the palette on its own. So it's more of a standalone palette. So if I'm having to rank this, like I'm gonna use that as an advantage. Next up is another palette that I was gifted in PR. This is a What's Up Beauty Dragon Eye palette. So this is the new to me palette for the month of June. The only new palette for the month of June that I forgot to mention was the Natasha Denona Golden, and that was in the bottom category. So that June purchase was not smart. But also, I purchased a lot more palettes in June. They're just not here yet. So anyways, here's the Dragon Eye palette. I really like this palette. I did film a video with this palette. I was going to do a video where it was like testing indie brands I haven't tried before. So I was going to have a clip with the What's Up Beauty, and then my friend Brittany Ray was sending me some of her Fantasy Cosmetica palettes, and I was like going to do a video with this in the Fantasy Cosmetica. Anyways, that was like 3 weeks ago. And this palette has been lost in, I don't know, like the USPS, like abyss. I assumed it was never coming. Anyways, I finally got notification that it will be coming. They tried to deliver it. There was like a whole issue with the postage. Anyways, it's neither here nor there, but that video will be coming someday. I just have to film that now that I bought a gazillion palettes. So anyways, this is this palette. I think this is really nice. These shimmers are not as opaque of a base, so they can be really sparkly and glitzy, and they give like a really wet effect to the lid without a ton of like base color. So I think they're really gorgeous. For me personally, and I'm speaking about me, this is like a really good work palette because I like color, I like bright, I like special, I like sparkly. But if I'm going to work, I want something like just slightly toned down. Like I'm not wearing neon yellow into work, you know what I mean? So this palette works perfect for that, and I really enjoyed it. And also, I'm feeling the dragon vibes with House of the Dragon being back on. Anyways, I have the Simply Posh Coastal palette. This palette I really love this one. I do. I love this. I really enjoy the tones of this palette, and so if I wanted like a neutral, or basically what I just said with this palette, right? Like there are, like if I'm ignoring these two blue rows here, the 2 rows here and the 2 rows here are not neutral, but they're muted. They're definitely wearable for me as a color lover, as a, like when I go to work, like, and I want something slightly toned down, like I can definitely get that. But I can also do something funky and fun with the blue shades. You know what I mean? So I really like this. I really, really love the tones of this palette. I think they are phenomenal. Last up in the loves category is the Adept Cosmetics Cyborg Choir palette. I reached for this palette like a whole bunch just to pull like one shade into a look. And the shimmer shades in this palette are so special. I do feel like you can use this palette on its own. I feel like these mattes work well for its like own color story, but I feel like your look tends to lean like purple crease with one of these shades. So I love pairing this with like my neutral creases or whatever. Like I just love going into this because these shimmers are out of this world amazing. They are so good. I really like that palette. Okay, last up are my holy grail favorites. So first up, we have the Pastel Garden palette from BellaBeauteBar. I think I was gifted this one in PR, but it was last year. But I'm pretty sure this is the palette that I was gifted from BellaBeauteBar at one point. Anyways, it's hard to remember like when it's like a long time ago. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this palette is my holy grail pastel palette. When I got it, I decluttered every other pastel palette I had because I was like, I only need this one. Has every pastel shade I want to use. So even though I'm not somebody who wants to do a pastel look on its own, if I want a pastel shade, this is the palette I'm going for. So that's why it gets to be as a holy grail favorite. There we go. Next up, we have the Danessa Myricks Groundwork 2 Blooming Romance palette. One of my shades I flipped, and I haven't flipped the other one. So if it looks really weird and bothers anybody, I'm so sorry. But anyways, I love this palette. I think it works great for different blushes. I really like using it for eyeshadow. I think this formula is amazing. I've talked a lot on my channel about how the Defining Neutrals palette might be my favorite palette of, not might be, I think it is my favorite palette of all time. I reach for that one constantly. But I just feel like Danessa she just like creates the best tones of whatever shade she's doing for these, and they just work so well. So anyways, that's what I feel about that. But I have a number one that was not a number one the last time, but I have continued to use it and decided that she's number one, and it is the Secret Garden palette from BellaBeauteBar. I cannot overstate how much I love this palette. I love, adore, just want to cuddle with this palette. I think the shimmers in here are so special and amazing. The mattes are beautiful. They have a great formula. I love that I can do a neutral look. I love that I can do a pink look. I love that I can do a green look. I love that I can do a neutral look with a pop of pink, a neutral look with a pop of green. Like, I can do so many different things. So this one is my absolute favorite out of all the palettes that I used in the month of June. But anyways, that is it from me. But let me know in the comments down below what palettes you used in June, what palettes you've been enjoying lately, what your favorite palette is in your collection. I just love to chat in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Bye!